Hi, I'm Rowena and this is my channel, A Fuller World. Together with my husband Kirk, we've set off to explore the beauty of a European summer. This year we brought a couple of friends along to help us wander through glaciers, lochs and stunning beaches, and we hope we can share a little bit of that wonder with you. Alright, so we have made it to Inverness and we've got this really gorgeous little Airbnb and we've picked up a stray who's just walked out the door. This is Tam. Hello. So she's joining us for the next 5 weeks as well, which is really exciting. And of course you can't come to Inverness without going searching for old Nessie. So we're heading up to Loch Ness and we're going to jump on a boat and see if we can find it.
It's all in our hands, this life of time. It's given to us all. It gathers round each night, each morn. We watch it pass and grow. It is all in our hands, it is all in our hands.
George? Feeding Nessie. Just what she doesn't nibble your hand there.
Not like the cow yesterday.
Sorry, Georgie. I was thinking about pushing Georgie in to feed Nessie, but
That's actually a very good idea. You might be the food.
With every field and rising sea, can hear the sounds of all, and with every change we'll always be where hope's not lost but found. It is all in our hands, it is all in our hands.
So next on the list from Inverness is driving down towards the Culloden Battlefield, which we're going to visit in a moment. But we thought we'd make a couple of stop-offs first. So the first is this amazing viaduct behind me, which is known as the Nairn or Culloden Viaduct. And pretty much just because it looks spectacular. It's such cool architecture. There's a train going over it behind me right now. It's fantastic. So the next place we've stopped by is a place called the Clava Cairns, which is essentially a series of ancient burial mounds that are believed to be about 4,000 years old, which is pretty bloody spectacular. They're really similar to ones that are found in some areas of like Ireland and other areas of Scotland as well. So you can sort of see it across that sort of Gaelic, I suppose, population or community. And there's also some standing stones around the area which again have that real sort of Celtic mythical vibe to them. But it's pretty amazing that 4,000 years later the burial mounds are still so well preserved and respected and still standing here for us to see. So we have come out to the Culloden Battlefield here near Inverness, and there's a couple of reasons I wanted to visit Culloden. So Culloden as a battlefield is essentially where the Jacobites had their last stand against the British Army, and it's so pivotal to Scottish culture. It completely sort of changed the way of life for a lot of people who lived here in Scotland, and as a result it's the reason a lot of clans immigrated across to places like America and Australia, so it has personal relevance to me as well. We have a lot of Scottish family on both sides, but in particular we know the MacLean clan here were Jacobites, and losing that army were part of that Highland clearance that really forced them to leave Scotland, and is probably why my family is in Australia today. So we really wanted to come and pay our respects, I suppose, to the clans that fought and the British side that fought as well, because quite potentially we have family on that side too. And just sort of, I guess, pay a little bit of homage to this big change in history that has led, I guess, to where I am, where we are.
So this house was essentially in the midst of where the battle was, so the family who owned it had to leave, but after the battle they came back and were here until about 1912, where the family all moved and left it to the trust, who are still using it today. So
it was used as a field hospital during the war because it was the only building around, so it's the only space they had basically, but it's really cool that the original structure's still intact. So if you come out here to the battlefield, I really recommend taking the tour. The tour guide was absolutely fantastic in terms of painting a history and understanding, I guess, the complexities that led up to this battle, and why it ended up on this really marshy field instead of in the battleground it should be. I mean, essentially, like, it's, I suppose in retrospect, a little bit of a funny story, not if you were there at the time, but you know, the Highlanders and the Jacobite army had picked a ground where the Highlander army and attack could shine. So across near Nairn, where we just were, where they had the high ground and they could utilise their charge and their tactics to the best advantage. But when they were waiting there, the British didn't come like they expected, and basically the reasoning was it was the Duke of Cumberland's birthday. So he was having a birthday party and gave the British army the day off, and they were all getting drunk. So the Highlanders marched out in the middle of the night in a thunderstorm, but managed to get scattered, broken up, so they didn't attack. And that's such a pivotal moment. Like, if they'd attacked, they would have found a drunk British army and probably been victorious. But instead, they retreated back here. The British army started to move, and instead of the high ground where they wanted to attack, they ended up basically stuck in a bog, waist deep, trenching through, and the British army just had the advantage and really tore through them and decimated the Highland clans and decimated the Jacobite army. So that was the end of the Jacobite campaign. And I guess the reason that's so important is that after that the Highlanders were really persecuted, whether they fought on the side of the Jacobites or the British army. And so things like the clan system was banned, the tartan was banned, bagpipes were banned, the Gaelic language was not banned but very much disencouraged, and within the space of about 50 years that language was almost completely lost. The British were very clever though, in that they sort of tried to integrate the Highlanders into the army, and that was the only place they could wear their tartans, speak the language, and that's really the reason it's sort of perpetuated today. But within 50 years, basically that language was gone, and the Highlanders cleared out of Scotland for the most part. So, you know, that's why MacLean blood is in Australia, why it's in America, why we're here.
don't be mean. Hour 42.
So we have left Inverness today, and we're heading up north towards the Isle of Skye, just making a little stop at a really cute farm shop outside of Inverness. We're trying, instead of buying snacks from the supermarket, to get all the local produce from the farm shops along the way. This time we've already got a couple stops yesterday. We had amazing raspberries, so we're hoping to find some again. But the plan is to basically head north, head up to the Kyle of Loch, to the Eilean Donan Castle, and then over towards the Isle of Skye, which is somewhere really new for me in Scotland, so I'm so looking forward to it. It's supposed to be an absolutely beautiful spot. So let's get in, let's get going. So we have made it down to Eilean Donan Castle near the Kyle of Loch, and this castle has been here in some form since the 13th century, when it was here to defend from Viking attacks. It's owned more by Clan Macintosh and more recently Clan McRae, and it had a huge part in one of the Jacobite risings leading up to Culloden, in which case it was absolutely destroyed by artillery and cannon fodder, and it sat in ruin for a couple of hundred years until the McRae family have really lovingly restored it, initially to be a family home, but now it's really just here as a tourist attraction. But they've done such an amazing job of the restoration, like it is actually phenomenal. Can't film inside the structures, but it's well worth a visit, so do recommend you come down and have a little bit of a look, because like the care and the craftsmanship to build back up what was essentially a complete ruin, like it's beautiful. Even if you decide not to go in the castle, it's well worth coming here just for the scenery. Like, set back amongst the loch with the bridge sort of jutting out across it. At high tide, completely covered by water. At low tide, you can sort of see the land underneath, but like surrounded by these mountains and the Highlands, and it's just honestly such a gorgeous place. It's well worth the drive up here.
You can